And we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comment. We have none tonight, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Any questions for staff?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comment? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Albritton is out of town tonight. Next item, we will go ahead and open the public hearing for the Kansas Department of Commerce Community Development Block Grant application for community facilities. Anyone in the public can make comment at this time.
Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, of course, this hearing is required as part of the block grant process. As you know, this is the third year in a row we're applying for a community development block grant in the small cities category for community facilities. And this year, the grant is being proposed to for a $700,000 grant for a roundabout at McFarland and Eisenhower Street. So later on in the meeting, there will be some other motions that the Commission will have to address. But at this point in time, anybody can stand up and speak about, and these will be part of the record that is submitted with our application about the roundabout, you know, or any project they want us to apply a grant for. So just want to give a little preface there.
Thank you. Anyone in the public want to make a comment tonight?
Good evening. My name is Brian Kuhn. I'm with Caw Valley Engineering. I'll be giving a little presentation about roundabouts tonight. We'll see if I can make this work successfully. So the problem with the intersection between these two roads is that the acute angle there makes it very, very difficult for drivers to be able to identify where traffic is coming from and how to be aware of other drivers, how they may be interacting. One of the best things that you can do is take away right angle collisions, and roundabouts are able to do that. Right now we're seeing that not only does it have that acute angle that makes it dangerous, but we're also seeing that in the future it's not going to function as it currently is. So as part of the comprehensive plan back in 2017, it was adopted by both Junction City and Geary County, and we've learned that the do-nothing option just isn't an option. We've got to do something because we know in the future that it's not going to work, plus we know that a roundabout is going to be safer. And actually, probably the quote from the comprehensive plan is, "A roundabout at Eisenhower and McFarland would slow northbound traffic leading into the 6th and Eisenhower intersection and improve the visibility of traffic turning off of McFarland and Eisenhower." So not only do we have proof that it's going to be a problem with volume, but we've also known that it's in the comprehensive plan, and we also know that it's a safety factor. What does that do? Safety. 4 different things for safety, actually. The first one is the sight angle is improved when you have a roundabout. It's actually difficult to have a right angle collision if you have a roundabout. The perpendicular distance, and that's the about 50 feet. So we know that we're going to have that minimum safe distance. The other one is left turning vehicles. If you've ever been behind a car that's making a left turn in front of you, how you try and wiggle out, look around to the side, see what's beyond it, or you're trying to look through the window of the car in front of you. Sometimes that works, but other times, just the way that the pillars line up with the vehicle, you may not see that car. Roundabouts completely eliminate that problem of wondering if you're going to be able to go right after the car in front of you or not. And better than that, not just for you, it prevents the person who is turning in front of you from being able to turn in front of you and you hit them when you have only moments to decide what to do. The roundabouts slip lanes are extremely beneficial to keeping fuel economy because you don't have to come to a complete stop. It allows those traffic that's making the right turn to be able to go, and the traffic that needs to make a turn, they can go into the roundabout. So you take cars that could be part of a problem and you take them out of the intersection and let the roundabout run by itself. The reduction in collisions is profound. It really genuinely saves lives. Every study that's been done on roundabouts has found that they reduce fatal accidents. They reduce serious injury accidents, and that's really because we're taking those right angle T-bones out of the equation. And if you're thinking about where you want your car to get hit if you're in it, you don't want it to get hit on your left driver's side because that's where someone always is. And you eliminate that interaction with the roundabout. If you're going to get into a crash, you're going to hit the right front of your car if you're in the roundabout, and it's going to be a lower speed impact. The travel speed is another factor that is huge. Anything that you can do to slow drivers down is beneficial to everyone. And one thing that a lot of people don't think about is how that affects law enforcement. I was an officer for 10 years, and I wrote a lot of speeding tickets, and it never changed. And over a decade, I was doing the same thing, writing people for the same citations over and over again. What you can do is installing a roundabout slows down drivers, and then those police officers can be on task with things that the police department should be doing rather than having to deal with something that is an unsafe condition we can remedy. No light to beat, that's a pretty good one too. And we don't have a signal to maintain either. So not only do we not have the problems with red light runners, but it eliminates that need to maintain a traffic signal, which is at least $600 to $1,200 every year just to maintain a signal. One-way travel, there's less confusion with that, especially they're called splinter islands. It allows the vehicle to actually be directed into where it needs to go, so it's actually difficult to go the wrong way. And the visibility, as I mentioned before. Bicycles are kind of interesting on how they interact. There are scooters going around a lot of the larger metropolitan towns. What you want to do is you want to pull those pedestrians back a little bit from the intersection so that the person is looking straight on and they can see any place that the pedestrian would come from, they're going to be able to see it. When you're at intersections, especially, I was actually hit on an intersection less than a week ago going through the pedestrian crosswalk. I now have a broken hand because of it. What had happened is the guy was making a right turn on red and never stopped. And luckily, I was able to grab onto his cattle guard on the front of his truck, and it dragged me a little bit, but I was able to make it. You just simply can't do that at a roundabout. You don't have that problem. You can't hide from cars that way. The design for our roundabout here, which we show, and that was my last slide. So be happy to answer any questions at all.
Good luck on your hand healing.
The guy went right over the top of me, and my best friend was driving through the intersection. He saw it, and he was out, his car door open, you know, it was like, but I got lucky. Roundabout would have solved that problem.
Isn't the Kansas Department of Transportation also, they really want to see this there? That's why they're kind of nudging us towards this development block grant to help pay for it, because it's the best long-term safety solution for the area.
Safety solution and a volume solution,
Right.
So it addresses everything.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Going once, going twice? We'll close the public hearing. Move on to the next item. Special presentations. Proclamation declaring 2019 Fire Prevention Month in the city of Junction City. I've got my trusty pen, so I'm all set. What up, Chief? City of Junction City, Kansas Mayor's Proclamation, National Fire Prevention Month. Whereas the City of Junction City, Kansas is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Junction City, and whereas fire is a serious public safety concern for both locally and nationally in homes or locations where people are at the greatest risk from fire, and whereas home fires killed 2,630 people in the United States in 2017, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and fire departments in the United States responded to 357,000 home fires, and whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths, 4 out of 5, occurred at a home each year. Whereas the fire death rate per 1,000 home fires reported to the United States Fire Departments was 4% higher in 2017 than in 1980. And whereas when the smoke alarm sounds, Junction City residents may have less than 2 minutes to escape to safety. And whereas Junction City residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire. And whereas Junction City residents should make sure that they have a home escape plan drawing a map of each level of the home, showing all doors and windows. And whereas the Junction City residents should practice the home fire escape plan with everyone in the household, including visitors. And whereas Junction City residents should practice the home fire escape drill at least twice a year during the day and at night. And whereas Junction City residents should teach children to escape on their own in case adults can't help them. And whereas Junction City residents should make sure that everyone in the home knows how to call 911 or the local emergency number from a cell phone or from a neighbor's phone. And whereas Junction City residents should practice using different ways out, and whereas Junction City residents at a real emergency should get low and go into the smoke to go out quickly. Whereas Junction City residents should get out and stay out and never go back inside a home for people, pets, or things. Whereas Junction City residents are responsive to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas in 2019 fire prevention theme, not every hero wears a cape. Plan and practice your escape. Effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Therefore, I, Pat Landis, Mayor of the City of Junction City, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Fire Prevention Month throughout the city, and I urge all people of Junction City to be aware of their surroundings and look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, to respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of the Junction City's Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Protection Month. Thank you, Chief Johnson. We appreciate all you and your staff do to help take care of Junction City residents.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Oh, you had your chance, man. Very good. Thank you. Next proclamation is the Extra Mile Day by the City of Junction City. Whereas Junction City, Kansas is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Junction City, Kansas is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with a total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Junction City, Kansas is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within the community who go the extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Junction City, Kansas acknowledges the mission of the Extra Mile America program to create 550 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2019. Now, therefore, I, Pat Landis, Mayor of the City of Junction City, do hereby proclaim November 1st, 2019 to be the Extra Mile Day. I urge each individual of this community to take time out of his own day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but also to acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, family, community, country, and the world a better place. doing this early, but it's a good thing. Okay, next on is presentation by the Metropolitan Planning Organization and Ray Ibarra of Public Works on transportation alternative grant projects.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I have Jared Tremblay with the MPO, Flint Hills MPO, and we're going to talk a little bit about the transportation alternatives grant that we have. I have some. Just a brief background on it. The Flint Hills Metropolitan Planning Organization, City of Junction City, and Lidwell Geary County created a partnership to improve the active transportation system in Junction City. The MPO is updating Junction City's bicycle master plan and identifying possible community policies that could adopt supporting walking and biking in the city. Also, Lidwell Geary County has received some money from Blue Cross and Blue Shields in a Pathways grant to support this initiative. And the MPO has come up with, as you know, a couple of projects that we have already tried, demo projects, those being the curb extensions and Midway Crossing at 7th and Jefferson, which we are in the process of making it permanent. They also did it at 7th and Adams, and Jared here is here to talk about a 7th Street bicycle boulevard on 7th Street as part of this demonstration model project. So I'll let Jared take it away.
Thanks, Ray. Good evening, Commissioners. Hello again. Commissioner Underhill asked that I speak very briefly about 7th and Adams, since that was a project done since I last spoke with you. Again, these demonstration projects are low-cost, temporary. They're there to test ideas, to experiment a little bit, try to improve safety, and we are always using reusable materials to keep costs low. So the 7th and Adams demonstration project was at the end of August through early September. These were just a quick sketch of what we did. We put in 4 curb extensions, just narrowing up the street a little bit. They're quite wide again. Oops, that's an error. That didn't come through, but this is obviously right by the post office there, and all of their large trucks were able to make the turn still. Once we installed it, we were out there installing it ourselves. People were slowing down for us. We didn't do anything crazy. We just basically brought the curbs out to where the parking was, just like we did right outside here. So we felt good about that project as well. Now, as Ray mentioned, today is exciting. I've never been in this position where a city can go after a transportation alternatives grant without money coming out of its own budget. So I'd like to talk to you tonight about what we'd like to do on for the 7th Street Bike Boulevard. And again, we're looking to do a test project here in the next week before we go after that long-term money. So here's a timeline. 2017 bike plan was adopted. We're looking at tweaking a few things based on some great ideas from Lidwell Geary County folks. At the same time, Lidwell did receive, and the city did receive, the Blue Cross Blue Shield's Pathway Grant. This year, obviously, we've been doing these demonstration projects, and this is all building here. We'd like to do one next week. We're planning on doing one next week, and we're calling it the 7th Street Bike Boulevard, something completely new for Junction City. It comes out of the idea of all those things. If it goes well, we'd like to go after a TA grant, be awarded the TA grant, make it permanent. And here's the good part again, is that the local match is coming not from the city, but from Lidwell Geary County's Blue Cross and Blue Shield Pathways Grant. Again, these demonstration pilot projects, this is a pilot we're doing with KDOT and Federal Highway. City of Junction City has been a partner in that as well. So what is a bike boulevard, you may ask? It's taking a low volume street with low speeds, adding some traffic calming every 2 to 3 blocks, basically, and what you get is a road that is prioritized for walking and biking, and that is what we call a bicycle boulevard. Why 7th Street? This is KDOT's function class map right here, those bright green lines that you see. One of them is 8th Street going east-west, that has a 57 on the east end. 8th Street, 2 blocks north of it, of course, is also a major collector for part of it, and then west of Jackson, it is also a minor arterial. Minor arterials are made to move vehicular traffic. 7th Street is sandwiched directly in between it. It is a local street. It is a neighborhood street. However, it connects downtown, the library, City Hall, with Dillon's, Goodwill, many assets, as well as the current high school. And in addition, which we believe KDOT would enjoy seeing, it would leverage the money they've already, and you and them have already spent on the Blue Jay Trail as well as the Eisenhower Trail. It connects to all of those. So what about the vehicles? This always comes up. Access will be maintained to every business and every house. That will not change. You will be able to get to exactly where you get to now. The routing may change a touch for a few folks. Again, there'll be hopefully lower speed, some traffic calming, and a few restricted turns. However, doing that is what makes it a bicycle boulevard and really prioritizes it. And again, all vehicles will be, basically what it does, it incentivizes them to use 6th and 8th Streets, the arterials, which have an amazing amount of capacity on them already. So this is a quick sketch of the proposal. A green line is our proposed bike boulevard from Washington, straight west down 7th, taking a right, going north on Garfield, and taking a left on 8th Street to Anderson. These are the 5 projects we're planning on installing for a week.
Anderson.
I'm sorry, Anderson, Eisenhower, sorry.
Wrong president.
Wrong place. Sorry. Excuse me about that one. These are the 5 projects we'd like to do next week. And these 2 here on Jefferson and Adams are ones that have been discussed already that we hopefully will put in with the Transportation Alternatives Grant. So we'll start on the west end. This is at Bicentennial Manor. The top slide is the current layout. There's a crosswalk there. The picture on the left we took when we were just out there last week or so doing an audit, and it's not the best crosswalk. It leads you into a parking lot. So what we're looking at doing here on the bottom slide is we're not doing anything. Currently, we're doing very little. There's parking on the north and south side of the street. We're just keeping the crosswalk as is. We're putting in 2 simple curb extensions, and we're going to test out something called a parking stripe. And all that does is really just delineate where cars are already parked. However, it has, visually it narrows the road, and so cars tend to slow down. Just really outlines the road. Just to the east of this, I suppose I should say, is the back of the USD building. It's the Dixon building. Currently, on the south side of the street, there is a bus stop and a bus pull-off there that the USD uses. This road is 40 feet wide, and so what we're proposing, you can see, is to take a 40-foot wide 2-lane road and put it down to a 24-foot wide road with 2 12-foot lanes, which is plenty wide and standard. And so this would create, through a median and with some curb extensions, it would create an actual bus pull-off, and then you would keep the 2 12-foot drive lanes. It actually adds a little bit of, I don't want to call it swerve, but you could say that a little bit, and that should also help narrow the focus of the drivers. This is at 7th and Garfield. This is just tightening up the turn radius on the north side of the street to match that on the south. We were out there last week. That really wide radius, cars like to turn fast and hard, southbound to eastbound. They cut that corner with speed, and so we'd like to tighten that up. It's a very simple thing. We'd like to try a small traffic circle at 7th and Clay. From Garfield all the way to Webster is 3 blocks. A bike boulevard, a good bike boulevard should have traffic calming every 2. So if we didn't do anything, we'd have 3 blocks. It creates a bit of a speedway there. So we'd like to try this. This is really simple. We'll just bag over the stop signs and stick in this traffic circle. Very simple. All directions just slow down a touch and you just continue on your way. It also will not affect delivery at Dillon's at all. Now the big one, Jackson. This, as you know, is a 4-lane road. It's not a pleasure to cross currently. And so Meeting with Call Valley Engineering and with Ray over the last week, we threw out some ideas, and this is what we would like to do. We'd like to take that from a 4-lane road and put it into a 2-lane road through that block segment there. And what that would do is it would put in a median for pedestrians. So pedestrians and cyclists would only cross 1 lane of traffic at a time. They would have a nearly 20-foot refuge island, and then they would have another lane of traffic to cross. There are no capacity issues right here. Moving on to that, capacity for a 3-lane road, basically effectively what we have here. Federal Highway says anything 20,000 and below is ideal. You can go up to 25. Some places, quite honestly, are going up to 30, larger cities. Jackson has 6,700 cars a day. I mean, it is ideal to have in this setup. No left turns, as I mentioned. There will be no left turn. There will be no left turns at this intersection. However, you have lights 1 block north and 1 block south to allow you to still make all your connections as you would. It is a minor inconvenience at most. Also, I was out there for 6 hours yesterday at peak times in the morning, afternoon, and evening, counting turn movements and counting pedestrians, and 54% of the cars were just using 7th Street as a quick diversion off of 8th and 6th because the lights stopped and people were rolling through this, slowing down, rolling through, and then shooting off to try to beat the lights on either side. That is not what you want to have happen. You want them to be using those lights. Like I said, we're out there. We actually counted 51 pedestrians and cyclists, which that was a lot more than I actually thought we would count yesterday. It was about 10.7% of all the east-west traffic going across that road. And here's a few pictures of people that we took. This gentleman here is disabled. He had to ride in the street because of the ramp situation. This lady here was crossing. That car wasn't overly close, but it wasn't too far either. We had cyclists come through. We had students come through, and we had another lady that was riding in the road as well that had to wait for a considerable amount of time to cross that street. It did not look comfortable. And again, this is what the types of materials we're talking about using for this demonstration project. Simple paint and vertical delineators that are retroreflective for the evening. And they are durable, they can be run over, and they pop right back up. Also tied in with this, there is a Pathways to Fitness event going on October 12th, and so we're going to hold a bike jamboree. We'll be there, and as part of that jamboree, people will be able to bring their bikes in, no matter who they are, and we'll get them fixed up for them a little bit, and then we're going to have a community ride, and it's going to align with these projects, and so we'll be able to get feedback from the people and from residents that partake in that to see what they think of this. That's what I had. We're just kind of throwing a whole bunch of ideas out there and seeing what works and seeing how it goes.
Ray, can we apply, I mean, assume this is, I like the ideas. And we've been talking on TA, I'm also applying for the walking trail from Spring Valley
to the roundabout.
Highway. Can we apply for both in the same year?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
When we went to the workshop last Friday, they said we can apply for as many projects as that we want.
Okay.
And they're the ones that will rate those projects for us.
I didn't realize, okay, so we can.
On that topic, this is an unusual project. KDOT doesn't see a lot of things like this.
Yeah.
So I think that bodes well, just throwing that out there.
I think we all like the projects that you did out here and even asked Ray to make them more permanent. So I don't see any issue with the demos and collecting information and seeing how it goes.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I'm more than happy to come back afterwards to face you and get feedback and see if it is something you
I think
would.
with the Jackson thing, we're probably going to get some feedback, so
Yeah.
it might be kind of nice to have you back when
I'll be
you're
back.
done to give some statistics and
Sure.
kind of
I
counter.
think it's called flack,
Yeah.
not feedback.
There's absolutely going to be flack. I can't tell you how many people I saw. I mean, you sit out someplace six hours, you see a lot of interesting things and traffic flows, and there's people that are used to doing things the same way every day. We're trying to make it better for people that currently don't have a good situation to cross the street. So is it worth the inconvenience for them to make a right and a left, to take an extra 20 seconds out of their day for someone else to safely cross the street? So I'll gladly come back
did have a question on the backside of the Dixon Center. Does narrowing that road right there eliminate the on-street parking for those people?
It does. There's 4 houses there. However, they all have substantial on-property parking, as well as then around the corner, there's on-street parking as well.
So as part of your demo, it'll include a no parking sign?
It'll include a no parking sign, yes.
On trash day, we'll have an obstacle course.
Will you reach out to those
That's-
houses?
That's how we test the new
Will
guys.
you reach out to the houses to let them know that?
Yeah, we can do that this week, absolutely.
Yes, we will.
That's kind of the idea. It really is to just slow down 7th Street, make it more, hospitable for vehicles, and try to encourage those vehicles to use the major collectors.
Anxious to see them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
Move on to new business. Item A, consider the request from Quality Play for All for construction of a basketball court as part of Phase 2 of the playground improvements.
I'll turn it over to Kendall to explain his idea.
Welcome.
Hi guys, Kendall Schoenrock. Thanks for entertaining this. So Quality Play for All came together with a 5-year plan for upgrades at 5th Street Playground Park. Phase 1 is completed with the upgrade of the equipment, and that's been a pretty good success. We're looking to continue that momentum with the approval to move forward with a basketball court, 50 feet by 80 feet. We've tag teamed the plans with Caw Valley as well as Ed Lazier at the Parks Department.
And basically, he's talked with Ed and that we would do the construction work, correct? We'd do the construction work of laying the concrete. Out-of-pocket cost $25,000 to $30,000. They're requesting the city pays half of this. I think it's just another enhancement to that park. We're all there. Things we're doing with the safety from the roundabout issue to everything else in that area. We're really going to have a good focus area there.
So to clarify, Quality Play for All would pick up the other half.
The size of the court, is it going to be similar to the one on Coronado? How big will it be, do you know?
Same size.
Same size?
Be a nice distraction for the older teenagers.
Very good. Well, your work out there has been tremendous. I mean, it's the most well-received thing I've seen around here in a long time.
My kids love it. Any other questions?
I think everybody's kids love it. So
Yeah, that's good. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you,
you.
Kendall.
Thank you.
we need a motion then to approve the plan and to pay for the half of the out-of-pocket costs.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, consideration to award the audit services bid to Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball. Ms. Miller?
Mayor and Commissioners, as it was mentioned during our annual audit presentation, our previous auditors, Meisenhauser, is closing their municipal branch, so they will no longer be conducting audits for municipalities. So what we did, I formed a small committee and we put an RFQ out for audit services, and after that, we interviewed a few of the firms. Let's see, we received 4 proposals in response to the RFQ, and staff interviewed 2. And after those interviews, we did a full analysis of the firm, and the committee is recommended Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball. And this is because we felt that they were the best fit for our city, because they indicated that they would have a larger staff on site for less days, so there'd be less interruption in our day-to-day activity for the city. And then that the lead auditor would always be present, because that's very beneficial for us to have that lead auditor there. The other firm that we interviewed said that they wouldn't have an auditor on site each day. It would just be the last couple days. Additionally, Alan has worked with Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball in the past, and he's had good experience with them. And he said he feels that they emphasize with staff on ways to improve, which we feel is very, very important. As far as the budget impact, their bid was comparable to what we had budgeted. So the audit fee for 2019 would be $37,250 with an additional $4,000 for a single audit if it's needed. That's just dependent on how much grant funds we get. And then for 2020, the fee is $38,450, and then again $4,000 for a single audit if that's needed. And then lastly, for 2021, it'd be $39,690, and then again $4,000 for a single audit. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
So this is going to be for a 3-year, and so in 3 years, we'll have to
Rebid, yes.
Or
Or we can
the
extend an
commission at
additional
that time, like we
year.
did with the last time, we extended a couple of years just because we had change of staff, so. There's no requirements how often you have to go to bid on these things, and we were actually going to recommend, but this was Lindsay's second year to do Mize Hauser one more year, but they kicked us all out. And Lindsay got on the ball right away because one of our concerns was Salina and Pittsburgh and a couple other cities of our size all have Mize Hauser, and Lindsay made contact with one audit firm that, well, first of all, not all audit firms do. Not all county firms do audits anymore, and secondly, some of them that do are full up. And
Questions for staff?
Make a motion to approve the audit services for the city to be awarded to Adams, Brown, Barron, and Ball as recommended by staff, with the final cost to be dependent on the needs of the city but not to exceed the amounts listed in the proposal.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item is consideration of the request to apply for a grant with the Dennis Leary Foundation in the amount of $23,116 to purchase water rescue boats. Chief Johnson.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, bring before you this evening, the Junction City Fire Department sent a letter of interest to the Dennis Leary Foundation in July of 2019, reference to possibly applying for one of their grants for water rescue boats for our water rescue team. We received a letter turned back to us saying that we are approved to apply for the grant. So at this point, I'm asking the Commission permission to apply for the grant for 2 water rescue boats for our task force. One would be an 18-foot and the other would be a 16-foot John boat with all motors, gas tanks, and everything included in it. What they do in this grant is they actually purchase the boats and deliver them. So we've got all the quotes. We send all that in with the packet, but they do the purchasing. So it's more of an in-kind donation than a monetary donation. Leary Foundation, they do several things just like the Gary Science Foundation. They provide all these grants for different fire departments across the country, plus they provide support for our fallen firefighters, police officers, and EMTs.
there's 0 local match.
None. No budget impact, no local match. This is 100% funded.
Do we have enough storage for these as well?
Yes, sir.
Any further questions?
Make a motion to approve the Junction City Fire Department to apply for the Dennis Leary grant for the amount of $23,116 for water rescue boats.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you. Next item is the annual update of the Junction City Fire Department's billing and coding compliance program.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, we're required by the Medicare, Medicaid, HIPAA, and there are several other acts that we're required to do this, to give you a basic rundown of our coding and compliance for our EMS billing. We are here this evening to give you this advice under Section 6401 of the Affordable Care Act. Provides that a provider of medical or other services and supplier in the industry in the category shall establish a compliance program as a condition of enrollment in Medicare, Medicaid, or the Children's Health Insurance Program. This process that we're going through is a extraordinarily long process in our coding and compliance. This is about our billing, our HIPAA regulations, and those things that we have to follow in EMS. This came about originally in 1996 with the privacy passing for the rules for HIPAA and the personal health information that we're allowed to give to our billers so that we can get reimbursed for our calls. Compliance is run by the Office of the Inspector General under the Health Administration, Health and Human Services Administration, and we have been working with the regulations under this act to help prevent fraud and abuse of billing. That's what this major objective is to prove that we're not billing people excessively. So with our billing company and with our staff, we are continually working on this. At this time, we are still doing training. We still have a lot of training to do, not just the HIPAA training that our city attorney accomplished today, or this week rather, Monday, but all personnel that are involved in the building have to do that. As a compliance officer, I have to maintain at least 16 hours a year of HIPAA compliance training. So we need to we're following the rules and regulations, and we're continuing to improve our plan. So hopefully by the end of 2020, we will have all of our members up to date, current, and meet the compliance goals. And then we get to start the process all over again.
Questions for Chief?
Make a motion, we approve the annual update for the billing and coding program.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Award in the amount of $3,537.04. Acting Chief Nichols, welcome.
You look surprised that it was your turn already.
Yeah, it would have been nice to get it on a consent agenda. Anyway, the reason I'm here, the Junction City Police Department seeks approval from the commission to accept the grant award from the 2019 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant through the Department of Justice in the amount of $3,537.04. And as you know, the Junction City Police Department is mandated by an agreement with the Junction City Police Officers Association to replace body armor every 5 years. The department needs to replace 10 vests in a physical year, and the total cost of the vest is $8,150. And in May of this year, we submitted the application for 50% funding for 10 vests, and we wanted $4,075, but in September we were awarded $3,537 for it. So that's a little bit under half.
And besides the agreement, it's also a good idea to replace the vest every 5 years?
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Questions?
Make a motion to accept the award from the 2019 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wasn't so bad.
Not at all, sir.
Next item, consideration of the agreement for the administrative consulting services of the Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Okay, these next four items are going to deal with basically the reason why we had a hearing earlier. We're applying for the block grant, which will be submitted by November 1. The first one is a contingent contract with Northwest Kansas Planning and Development Commission that if awarded the grant, we have a contract in place with them to do the grant administration. They've successfully done grant administration for us on the playground project, and they're doing grant administration on the Spring Valley project, which will have construction next year. We have to bid that out by first of the year. We have to bid that by March, and that'll be done next year. There's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross and X's to slash on grant projects like this, so we've had extremely good luck with them. And as you know, the last 2 years now, last year and then the one this year, they've also are writing our grants as well. So great success with them, and these are standard fees. It's $26,000, I believe it was, that they're allowed to charge for a grant project. All the funding for the grant administration comes from local funds. The $700,000, which is the maximum match on the grant, we can go $700,000, will apply to construction. This allows us some flexibility in picking, but we have to have a contract in place, because one thing they look for in grant applications is readiness. I mean, we use the word, don't use shovel-ready, but basically ready to rock and roll, because if grant funds are awarded to you, they want you to get them used in 2 years, and this is when the process is out of the way. This basically approved the agreement, and the agreement does say in there that it's contingent upon receiving a grant.
Any further questions?
Make a motion, we approve the agreement for administrative consulting services of the Community Development Block Grant Funds.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, consideration of the agreement for professional surveying and engineering services with Caw Valley Engineering Incorporated for the McFarland Road and Eisenhower Drive intersection improvement to Fifth Street.
This is kind of repeat of the last thing. This is for the engineering service. Again, have a contract in place. They require us to have a separate contract for the project, as we do for the Spring Valley project this year. And again, if the project doesn't happen, the contract doesn't, if the grant is not awarded, the contract's null and void. And again, the engineering fees are paid out of the local share. That way, it's a whole lot easier to select your firm to use. And we still match the amount of grant funds for the construction side.
Questions for staff?
I make a motion we approve the agreement for professional surveying and engineering services with Caw Valley Engineering, Inc.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, consideration of Resolution R 2915, certifying legal authority to apply for the 2020 Kansas Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program.
By adopting this resolution, the commission is given the authority to apply for the grant, the mayor to sign everything, and they will provide the matching funds as in the grant application of $1 million, $1,005,784 towards the project, because the project is estimated at $1.7 million.
Questions?
Make a motion.
And $700,000 is the max you can get on the grant.
Make a motion, we approve Resolution R 2916.
15.
15, sorry, I was down one. 2915, certifying legal authority to apply for the CDBG program.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, consideration of Resolution R 2916, assuring the Kansas Department of Commerce that funds will be provided for the operation and improvements to the street system.
I always like to say this one here is the one, if they're going to help you pay for it, they expect you to take care of it afterwards. So and we've done this every year, that we're going to provide adequate funds to maintain our the projects we put in place.
Questions?
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2916, assuring the Kansas Department of Commerce that funds will continue to be provided for the operation improvements of the street system.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, consideration of change order number 1 for the Spring Valley Road and Old Highway 40 water line improvements.
Actually, as you note from my note today, we're going to add a second change order here. The first change order is to extend the contract by 60 days. Middle Creek just had a hard time getting here this year from one project to another. As you know, projects of their nature, when you get into the ground, have been delayed, not only here but across the state. So the delay of 60 days doesn't cost us a dime. It doesn't hurt us all. I mean, just it hasn't been any financial strap to us. Today, we received the second change order, which I'd like to include here. It'd be change order number 2, which is a deduction of $10,000 They were going to do a channel crossing and rebuild a retaining wall. They've decided they can do a boring underneath, which saves us $10,000. So normally I don't like to add things, but this is one of these things when it's a takeaway rather than an add-on. I'm very confident we can just do these in one motion.
Very
Change
before
order
they
one and
change their
two.
minds.
Yeah.
Leon, was this cost saving something that your firm found or something that the contractor found?
Yeah, we offered that in the original bid documents that they could do directional boring, but they decided they was going to open trench it, and they've come back now and saying, hey, we'll save you some dollars by letting us directional bore it.
Gotcha.
These are the benefits we get by having them on the project and everything else. And,
Right. Questions?
Make a motion to approve change order 1 and 2, or do I have to do two different ones, sir? Make a motion to approve change order 1 and 2 for the Spring Valley Road and Old Highway 40 water line improvements.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Item K, consideration to award the lease purchaser agreement bid to U.S. Bank Corp. for 4 dump trucks and irrigation controllers with semi-annual payments and first payment due in April 2020. Ms. Miller?
Commissioners, Mayor, as you mentioned, we went out for bid for lease purchase for 4 dump trucks and irrigation controller. We received back 5 bids. However, this one was a little bit different than our normal responses. I do also want to mention there was a previous draft of the memo where there was a typo on item number 5 with Bank Funding LLC. The interest rate listed should be 2.13%. We do not recommend choosing them due to the fact that because we had not heard of this bank before, so when we looked, they do not have a website, so we can't find any credentials. And then I also visited with our financial advisors, Columbia Capital, to see if they had done any work with them, and they had no previous work with them. And then additionally, when we Googled their address, it showed a house. So we just were not comfortable using them, given with all of the financial scams going on. So our recommendation is to go with the second lowest bid, which is U.S. Bancorp for 2.22%. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer that.
And we have had funding through the
Yes,
the
yes.
second lowest.
Absolutely.
Any further questions?
I make a motion to approve the awarded bid of a lease purchase agreement with U.S. Bancorp semi-annual payments with the first payment due in April of 2020 as recommended by staff.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item L, consideration of resolution 2917 authorizing lease purchase agreement with U.S. Bancorp.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is simply a continuation of what we just discussed regarding lease purchase. This will just simply grant Mr. Dinkle and myself the authority to close the lease purchase with U.S. Bancorp for the interest rate of 2.22%. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Resolution 2917.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2917, authorizing designated individuals to sign on behalf of the city for a lease purchase agreement with Bancorp not to exceed $465,910.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, letter M, consideration of the offer for city-owned property at 436 West 11th Street.
Lindsay received his offer right shortly before the last meeting. I'm not going to speculate anything here, but they want to buy the lot at 436 West 11th Street for $1. It's appraised at $6,350, and I'd recommend to deny the offer. I believe the lot was bought for self-help housing one time. It's only 40 foot wide.
By 140, I believe.
And again, like previous meetings, I am inclined to think that we should get rid of the lot, and if somebody wants to put something on it that's going to generate tax dollars and that sort of thing, that we should be all for it.
I just think it's a problem selling these things for $1.
Yeah, I'm concerned about that as well.
You know, if there's something more reasonable but $1, no. No way.
And this is one of those lots that we have no clue what was paid for it back in the day.
No, that one I don't at all.
Yeah.
Because it's never been appraised, so,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to get it appraised, so.
Is there a motion to deny?
Make a motion to deny the offer.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-1. Next item, consideration of the request to reschedule the October 15, 2019 City Commission meeting.
Mayor and Commissioners, on their next meeting, Tuesday, October 15th, myself and Mayor and Vice Mayor are all going to be in Washington, D.C. for the AUSA conference. We have worked our agenda around so we can, get like business tonight and to November the 5th would be the next meeting, but we need to pay a bill. So I would suggest, and the following week after we thought about it, but I know I'm going, I think Vice Mayor Underhill's going the following week as well. So I suggest we either try to do a noon meeting or a 5 o'clock meeting. One of my suggestions would be a 5 o'clock meeting on October 17th or 4:45 or 5 o'clock on the 17th, because the Chamber of Commerce is having an event in the city building, their annual so-called business meeting that same evening. So we could do a 5 o'clock and just go to that. At this point in time, unless something drastic happens, we sure keep you in knowledge up until then. We're basically be a 2 to 5 minute meeting to pay bills.
So you're proposing a 5 o'clock on
The 17th.
Tuesday, October 17th? Because I'm on the schedule to work that day, but
I was going to say, can we do 4:45? Because all,
I'm
being
good
on the
with
chamber board, I'll
4:45.
need to be there at 5.
Can we encourage them to push their meeting to 5:30? Because 4:45 is a problem for me.
We can make 5:15. They're not going to start their state of chamber meeting until 5:30. They have 5 to 7.
right, there's
We're going to provide
refreshments.
food and refreshments.
I
Five would
can
be
probably do
fine.
5 o'clock.
You're right, Alan.
5,
I'm good with
5:15.
I can
I'm
do
good at
5.
Okay, we need a motion then.
Make a motion, we move the second meeting of October to Thursday, October 17th at 5 PM.
second.
In the old city commission
Oh,
chambers.
in the old city commission chambers.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next item, executive session. Someone want to read the motion?
10 minutes.
I move that the commissioner recess for an executive session to include the city attorney and city manager for, you said 10 minutes? 10 minutes at 7:55 for attorney-client privilege to discuss acquisition of real property. The justification for executive session is provided by KSA 75-4319B6. The open meeting is to resume in this room at 8:05.
7:57.
I was looking at that one up there.
That one's slow.
So 7:57 and then
8:07.
8:07.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Flint Regional Council, there had been, as I told you before, there'd been a discussion previously about co-directorship between Justin and I think Joanna. And I think that kind of went by the wayside this last time. And I think the decision, at least it sounded like to me, was probably going to be that Joanna was going to be appointed the executive director.
They're not going to share it.
I don't think so. That's the way it sounded. Gary recommended really that we didn't do it. And that kind of threw me for a loop because I thought they were leaning the other way, but Gary just came out of that during the meeting and said that. So I think Joanne will end up being, which I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. The co-directorship had some concerns with, that, but I think we'll be fine with her as this, and I think it'll give us an opportunity to become a little bit more financially solvent than what we have been. So we should know, I think that decision is going to be made in November. Alan, you got my email reference to the Flint Hills Regional Council wanting to move. That meeting was supposed to be in Alma, I think, but now they want to do it on November 15th, I think, at the Opera House.
Yeah, we got that.
Good for that? Yeah.
I sent you a note
So,
back.
there was a Fort Riley representative at the last meeting who indicated that it's good to know that most units from Fort Riley will be back after October, and then will be here through February. And I mean, almost all troops will be on the base through October to February, so that's a really good thing. So sales tax is positive, so really, hopefully, we'll have a big
Strong
sales
finish.
tax boom after that, yeah. One of the things that was kind of surprising to me is that they also announced that they're, for base closure criteria, the Army has now included 5 new areas that they're going to be looking at when they look at closing bases. And one of the 5 are licensing, which the fact of the state that we're going to, does it accept the licenses of family members, i.e. nurses, other professional organizations, whether or not that state that base is located in accept those. And I know Kansas has done some with nurses, and there's others too, I think, but I'm not quite sure. Other professional licensing, but that's one thing they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at housing. Obviously, that speaks for itself. They're going to be looking at schools, and the test grades from grades 4 and 8 will be the ones they'll be looking at. They're going to be looking at medical, and they're also going to be looking at intergovernmental support agreements, i.e., like Manhattan is with Port Riley on SALT. And there's I think somebody else is jumping in on that thing too, which it doesn't really benefit us to do that. But that's another thing they're looking at is intergovernmental support agreements with local entities as a criteria for that base being not closed because of the involvement it has with the local communities. So that's a really, that's kind of a new news there that they're going to start looking at this. The other thing I had a question for you, Alan, was I saw that Corvus is going to be building and renovating some houses out there. I know that there had been a lot of work done, I think, by you and Mick McAllister when he was mayor to bring Fort Riley into the compliance with what they had told us they were going to have for new housing. Now, is there a chance with this Corvus thing that they're going to go over that again?
What I know is no, they will not go above the 38 something. I can't remember the exact number, but it's 38 something.
I saw that the other day, that Corvus was announcing.
They tore down a bunch of houses out there. What was killing us before then, I mean, as a community, was the fact that they had 4,400 houses, and a good portion of those you couldn't live in. And so, but they counted them, and so their occupancy rate was like below 90%, which kicks into waterfall, which we've never got to here yet. And by bringing it down to it, we've now got above that 90-some percent. So it's a balancing game with national contracts and everything, but, you know.
Well, I saw, I think it was 129 units were either going to be renovated or
We won't have any problem.
built, so we'll be
They
good.
tore down all that at Camp 4 site.
I don't have anything else. Mayor, thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Fitzgerald?
Just a couple of things. So last Friday, I attended the Fort Riley retiree ceremony. There's only 6 folks that attended that retirement ceremony. Soldiers were 4 of them and 2 Department of Army civilians. Of those 6, 199 years, and I think there were 16 combat deployments. Those 4 soldiers all went back probably to wherever they're from. The 2 DA employees that retired, one stayed in, I think they both stayed in Kansas, one right here in Junction City. Today, I also attended Fort Riley's Community Center. It's called Riley's Community Center, had their ribbon cutting today, and that center is going to be used. It used to be the old Riley Conference Center up there, but still can use it for a lot of the same things, meetings and events. They got a nice computer room, they got a family activity room, got a fitness room with a child activity space and a recreation room. So they're going to get to try it out on October the 12th, Saturday, when they have the annual Retiree Appreciation Day. So if you're a retiree and you want to go to Fort Riley and get some briefings on TRICARE, get your flu shot and any other things that you might need, doors are going to open at 7:30 and the program will begin at 8:30. So this Saturday, big K-State game. It's the Military Appreciation Day at K-State, so there'll be a big tailgate party prior to that for the military and their families. Reminder, our Military Affairs Council is working on a big welcome home event, and as Commissioner Brown spoke about, soldiers are returning and they're going to continue to return this month. So there's a big event being prepared or put on by our community to welcome them back, and that's going to be on Saturday, November the 2nd at 12 o'clock till 3 at 5th Street Playground Park. And the thing that I guess we really need to say, we've got a lot of donation coming in, but if you want to donate to that cause, then just get with the Military Affairs Council at the Chamber. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Chamber meeting last week, a lot of good things going on in our community. Just to highlight a few real quick, the State of the Chamber meeting is October 17th across the street, right after our meeting. Community Game Night presents Life, that's November 7th. Part of the proceeds go to the McKinney-Vento program for homeless families in our school district, as well as All Treats Day on Washington is on the 24th this year. Just quickly, the Mayor did the proclamation for going the extra mile. I just want to say thank you to Commissioner Fitzgerald for going the extra mile in our downtown and picking up and making everything look nice down there. And then with the elections coming up, I want to remind everybody how important the renewing the sales tax is and continuing that, and urge people to get educated about what's really going on with that. It's not adding anything additional. It's just continuing the correct path that we're on now. So please take time to get educated on that, and please vote to renew it.
Thank you. I just have a couple things. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so I'm wearing my mammogram tie today. It's really important. So ladies, go see your physicians and get that taken care of. There are a couple candidate forums coming up for City Commission and School Board. The first one is October 10th at the 12th Street Community Center at 7 p.m. There's also one put on by the Chamber on October 30th, Junction City Middle School at 6 p.m. I'd like to reiterate what Vice Mayor said. The sales tax renewal is absolutely critical for this community. That has been our life preserver that we've had, that we've been able to maintain, that goes right towards debt. That generates about $3.5 million per year that goes to pay the debt that we've incurred because of all the development and so on. So that has allowed us to continue to function as a city and not go into bankruptcy and still fix streets and still do great things here in town. So we're not adding anything additional. It's just keeping the status quo for another 10 years. We get through that, we get us through the biggest part of our debt, and we're going to be in good shape. So I don't care who you vote for, but this thing is absolutely critical for this community. And that's all I have. Mr. Dinkle.
I want to add the sales tax. The sales tax we have now does not expire until a year from, so December 31 of 2020. We decided, and when we worked with the commission, to do it on the ballot now, because the next opportunity, without having a special election, would have been next summer in a primary. Next November would have been too late because there's certain requirements by state, so do it now. But also, I always say timing could be everything here. If it passes, and we know that the sales tax will continue past December 31, 2020, and go till 2030, it's going to allow us, with these record low interest rates, to refinance some things. Lindsay and I have taken a look at this already with bond people, that we have certain bonds that we're paying interest only. Everybody says, why'd you do an interest only bond? Well, in 2010, the city didn't have a whole lot of choices. They worked a big package together and says, you can pay this much, you don't have to raise you get the sales tax, which is about $3.5 million. You get that in place. You'll be able to hold your mill levy in place, which the city has done since 2013, I believe, has held it in place, dropped it back down, held it in place since then. And, the last few years, since 2015, we've upped the amount of streets we've done, other projects. We now, when Mr. Schoenrock comes in tonight saying, let's get some more for the community for recreation, we can do those things. We have those abilities now and continue it. I think if it passes, we'll take a look at this and refinance and probably be a bit more aggressive on taking those. We have a bond in there that we don't pay principal till 2030 some. And if we can knock that down and get the debt paid off, I think the 2025 years are going to look good. What you're also going to do is you're going to be providing for the future of the community of children, grandchildren by having the debt paid off sooner and then addressing other issues with the community. It's a big thing. I'm sure Lindsay and I are going to do some radio programs and everything else. And again, I don't worry about the rest. I can't make any discussion about the rest of the election, but the big thing is the sales tax is important to the community. This community, starting in 2010, I think when 2030 rolls around, 2025, even that soon, I think we're going to be part of one of the greatest financial turnarounds of any city in the state of Kansas, perhaps the nation. Not blaming what happened. It happened. The city addressed it. It took care of it. You didn't let some court decide how you were going to do it, and you took it on hand, and we just need one more extension to go out there and to address and do it right. We're going to still pay we're going to need $3.5 million in 2021 if the sales tax passes or not. If it doesn't pass, we're going to go looking for it elsewhere. We either have to cut expenses dramatically, which means no more streets, no more a lot of things, and that's not a threat. It has the way it has to be, or you raise property taxes by a substantial amount, and this community has survived very well with the sales tax in place. Jumping on Commissioner Brown's comment about the ICSs or working with the military, both Ray and Chief Johnson are working trying to get some ICSs with different things that we can do with Fort Riley. So always have that. In fact, I like this selection process. I think where the communities get involved, this community does extremely well at Fort Riley, and I think we've proven that for 150 or 160 years, and that doesn't change. Lindsay and I and Ray had a great meeting with Core in Maine this afternoon on our AMI project, the metering project. The goal right now is to try to start getting the plan put in place and to start doing the towers and issues like that from now till April. And then come April, do the construction part, is putting the meters in the ground in there. That way they're not fighting wintertime and everything else. We're very optimistic that by December, by the end of next year, if not sooner, we'll have all the meters in place. Derby is going through a process right now with the same company, and they started in June, and about the same size, the same number of meters and everything else. They started in June, and they're about done. So, and again, weather and a lot of flow place. But we're going to go to Derby one time because we found out that they probably understand the software. I don't think we understand the capabilities, the true capabilities of what we can do with automated metering. I think we're going to find stuff out, and our goal is to try to learn those as fast as we can. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stites?
Nothing at this time.
Ms. Miller?
Nothing, sir.
Milton? Acting Chief Nichols? Thank you. Chief Johnson?
I do have one thing, sir.
Great.
Last week, we had the opportunity to pick up our new ambulance. It is sitting in the bay at Station 1. Hopefully, we'll have it in service within the next week. Radios are getting put in tomorrow, and we have licensing with the state after that. She'll be in service.
Terrific. That's great.
And she's a beautiful rig. If you get a chance, please come look at it.
Good.
We plan to have it on display at the chamber meeting.
Yes, sir.
So from everybody in the community that come to the chamber meeting, we'll have that on display so people can see what we invest their money in.
Good. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Mr. Ibarra? Mr. Osborne? Mr. Lazare? Mr. Peterson?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr. Youngers? Mr. Grumman?
Nothing this evening, sir, thank you.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. And we're out. Thank you.